I feel like every time that we think the players are ready, someone decides to randomly again just pile shuffle their deck. But we have something that is really exciting for this tournament, because we were talking about the rise of combo decks again, you know, and there we have a new one, Manadium.
It's beautiful, because this is really the pure definition of a combo deck to me, because this is piling out big boss monsters, synchro monsters, and others of all sort. And we are starting things off, immediately revealing to our opponent that we are on the Manadium deck with normal summoning Manadium Rhymeheart.
I was going to ask if Rise was a pun there. Rise. Are there any Rise cards in the Manadium deck?
I don't think so. No, there's the Kashtira Fenrir, but we're not playing the Kashtira Rhymeheart because. Of course, we can't really lock ourselves into Exceeds, but there is the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring on the effect of Meek there, because we did destroy the Meek for the Visa Starfrost, but we didn't get to special summon out.
Is that a problem for our Manadium player?
I mean, it does definitely make him not have an additional monster to synchro summon with on the field.
I mean, it makes it really much harder to go into an instant Baron right here, because otherwise we would have gone with the Meek and the Visa Starfrost. Yeah, Visa Starfrost is a tuner itself, right?
Visa Starfrost is Rhymeheart. Rhymeheart is not a tuner, so you could use Rhymeheart. Yeah. Is Meek the one that increases the level?
Yes.
So you could turn those into an Axel and the other two into a Baron. But once you've got the Visa Starfrost in play, this just gives you a ton of monsters for free, right? Because you get to link into the Scareclaw link.
Yeah, but this is what I like. He got interrupted on his Manadium engine, but he was like, okay, sure, then I will start with my Scareclaw cards, immediately linking into the Scareclaw Lightheart, and from there, he got himself the Primitive Planet Dragphobia. And as you can see, there's still a level 10 Synchro monster on the field, being the Baron de Fleur.
That's a level 10 number. Let's see how many level 10s he makes during this match.
Yeah,
level
I mean,
10 turbo.
Level 10 counter up to 1. And now Cross Sheep. And the cool thing about Cross Sheep is it doesn't only trigger on the special summon of the specific type, but now that he has a synchro monster it's pointing to, you can just special summon something else there. For example, a fusion monster, such as the very powerful new Vicious Astrolaut. And that would enable us to use the effect of Cross Sheep to special summon out a monster from the graveyard, which we in fact just did. There's Manadium Meek coming back.
Vicious Astrolaut is an amazing card, because I think you can summon it multiple times per turn. It's very free, right? You just get to summon it by banishing a Visa Starfrost and another monster. I'd have to get it exactly right. Another monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense. So that's the Rhymeheart or the Scareclaw Rhymeheart.
So many different cards I have to put on the card highlight here. Appaloosa.
It's a new deck, it's beautiful. Cyberstone Axis really made this deck playable.
Come on, Leo, you've got to keep up with this guy.
sorry, let's get Appaloosa.
Every time I say a card, you know, it should be on before I've even said it.
But it looks like this is the end field that we have created, so I feel like that Ash Blossom on Meek was actually pretty impactful, because there are supposed to be more Synchro monsters on the field. I would have expected Bestial Disparter, I would have expected Chaos Angel, but there's only the Baron de Fleur being joined by the Appaloosa.
So rate this end board out of 10.
I would give it, honestly, only a 6 out of 10 maybe.
6?
Oh, I would have gone lower.
Even lower,
yeah.
I understand, for sure.
I guess it depends what you're facing, right? But against Kashtira, I think Appaloosa is pretty flimsy.
Should we just do this all the time now?
Rating
Enfields out of 10?
That could be a new in-between rounds game. You just show the Enfield and rate it out of 10.
So cool. We are, even though there's only 2 Kashtira unicorns now, still the field spell is going to search it out, so he does have access to it very consistently. And he is going to be able to special summon it out here. And the cool thing for Kashtira is, yes, there is an Appaloosa with 2,400 attack points, but you can just special summon out the Kashtira Unicorn and run over it.
And now the Birth was immediately negated by Baron, which I mean, Birth is an incredibly good card, but you just negated the activation of it, and you know that your opponent has just searched a Unicorn, so he can just special summon the Unicorn, attack over Appaloosa, and then search for another Birth if he really wants one.
Ooh, but he does go for the Fenrir.
I'm interested why you start with Birth there when you don't have any... You can just special summon from your hand, right?
And there comes Theosis targeting the Fenrir, and Dario has no response to that. So I think, at least for the moment, it looks like Rico does not even try to just go into the battle phase and get rid of the Appaloosa, and rather play already in his main phase 1. And I don't know how well that's going to work out with that Appaloosa still on the field.
It's also worth keeping track of the the attack boosts going on, because there's field spells from either players here.
Ooh! Wow. Okay, so I was absolutely sure that we were going to use Appaloosa here instead of the Ghost spell in hand, as long as the Appaloosa is still on the field.
I mean, there's an immediate answer to the Appaloosa, right? Because the Kashtira Fenrir gets boosted by the field spell. Or does the field spell the Primitive Planet Rag Phobia?
I think it counts the number of monsters in defense mode and reduces your opponent's attack.
Once does your opponent control lose 100% attack for each defense position monster on the field. So it does get boosted by a lot more though, so it will be able to run over here.
Yeah, currently the Primeval Planet is losing even to the Pressured Planet.
I'm a bit confused by the sequencing we went for here.
Now we use the effect of Fenrir to banish face down, so we give our opponent a chance to negate with Appaloosa, but what happened to that Appaloosa? He just refuses to activate the effect.
Did we miss anything?
I'm a little confused why you'd banish face down and not just attack over the Appaloosa, yeah.
I mean, activating the Fenrir makes a lot of sense to banish it, because if the Appaloosa negates, then he takes 800 more damage.
But I mean, you could just banish face down at a later point in the turn if your opponent has another interaction, right?
But what if you negated it with Baron there, and then the Fenrir would be destroyed, and then the Appaloosa would survive into main phase 2?
Baron was used on Birth already.
Oh, yes, okay.
Which is also something that I found quite interesting, because we have just established that the Unicorn in hand just then outs the entire field.
Yeah, but now the good thing for Rico is that Kashtira Rysart that he summoned out earlier has not even used its effect yet.
Yeah, with the Birth gone, the Unicorn is somewhat stranded in the hand, right?
Yeah.
Unless you made a Dracosac, which would be strange. But viable.
Absolutely.
It's allowed.
It could be the Dracosac, honestly. I could see that. Also, wait, okay, yeah, we did special summon the... Oh yeah, we activated Theosis. I was just thinking, do we even have a way to link summon here, maybe into Donner, but we are locked through the Theosis. And we're just searching for another... Rysart
I was so confused when I saw the Rysart coming out of the Theosis, because you can just... I mean, if your plan is to attack over the Appaloosa anyways...
Oh, that's just tribute summon.
We are tribute summoning the Kashtira Unicorn.
Okay.
That is definitely something very unusual that we're seeing right there.
Yeah, I'm a little confused what the line is here.
Now we do search Birth, and yes, Birth does still have the very powerful effect to special summon back from the graveyard, but we do not have the additional normal summon anymore now. Or like, so, I'm saying additional, but it's just you can normal summon while having monsters on the field.
So maybe the line here is special summon Rysart and then use Birth to bring back a third monster, and then you overlay for Shangri-Ira and then make sort of like the kind of standard first turn combo.
Yeah, I think you get there, that's true.
And you also have the field spell to pop the Baron for free. I mean, it could have just been Big-Eyed in main phase 2. And
true. Big-Eye would have been really, really good.
But I don't think it makes too much of a difference. You just get to pop it anyway right now, right? With the field spell, and there wouldn't have been anything to pop,
So, looks like we're going for the Shangri-Ira in the extra monster zone, protecting it from cards like Nightmare Cerberus. And there now, finally, the second Rysart will be activating its effect, and it banishes the Big Bang, which totally makes sense here.
I mean, we got there eventually, right?
We did. This is a very roundabout line, but I mean, you can't argue with the result.
And honestly, I think this is one of the main factors why Kashtira is one of the best decks in the room right now, because it is so powerful, even though we only had access to Engine here, basically, but still going second and can do so much, because those monsters are not only super powerful in terms of attack points, but also they have so really aggressive and good effects into opponents' fields, as we just saw. And that is once more really, really showing here. So there comes the field spell effect onto the Baron, and it does resolve.
I'm also quite curious. I mean, I kind of like having the Unicorn on the field here instead of the Fenrir. Special summoned out of the Shangri-Ira, basically.
Oh, we do go for double Shangri-Ira, but I mean, that probably knows we just go for the Rysart. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Free material Rysart seems kind of nice, and there he is in Starlight Rail, the only one he still has left in his extra deck, but it's good enough here to be summoned.
I like that a lot, going for triple Shangri-Ira in the extra deck, basically wasting one, using it as additional material, just so that the Kashtira Rysart that you're summoning at the end of this combo has full materials and can immediately banish something.
Yeah, it's totally worth getting that extra material. It's quite funny, actually, the fact that you can summon a Rysart with one material, Or you can summon it with 3 materials, but we or you can do the middle ground and use 2 monsters on the field.
Yeah, and that worked out very well. So we do special summon out Fenrir now, and look at that. We have now the Arisad banished, we have Fenrir versus a monster deck being really strong because the Mannadium deck is forced to use monster effects. But first of all, we're going to start off with a spell card.
But imagine we had used the Appaloosa effect on whatever the first graveyard effect was and not the Ghost Spell, because then we could have used the Ghost Spell onto the birth, and that would have been a lot better for him.
It was Scareclaw Kashtira. The problem here also...
Yes.
We could just... I don't know whether it was announced, but Rico could just use the effect of Kashtira Birth here, and he is doing so. He will banish 3 cards from the graveyard of Dario, and that immediately would trigger the field spell again, immediately getting rid of the Rai card we just summoned out there.
That is really powerful sequencing. As we already said earlier, the first turn was a little odd to us at least, but now he's just not forgetting anything. So Rico is piloting this perfectly.
Now, of course, the mandatory effect of Rysard or Irrysard will activate again. We are locking another zone, and right after that, we would be able to then use the field spell here.
After Diablos has got forbidden, I feel like there are more cool lines for the Kashtira deck, and it has to really work around just a few zone blocks. You know, you can't go for the full zone lock anymore, but now you have to play really smartly, and it still really disrupts your opponent.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, some decks can kind of completely ignore it, and other decks it can be very, very irritating. If you're locking like monsters under the extra monster zone or something, it can be very frustrating to deal with.
So Dario now has to figure out a way to still continue, and it's going to be the normal summon of Mannadium Meek that's happening here.
Meek. Sorry.
Oh, and there's the effect of Visa Starfrost. And the thing is, when you just chain that Arisad, which Rico is doing here, the effect of Visa Starfrost is not going to resolve, and therefore Dario has no additional plays, leading to Rico Eichelberger winning game number 1 here in our round 4 featured match.
Yeah, Rico going for an absolutely crazy line here, ending on the perfect end field that really just disrupts Mannadium this hard, because Mannadium has a lot of potential as a deck. Everyone has been saying that ever since it came out, but there is still this one thing in the format, this one card that scares off most of the decks, to be honest, which is Kashtira Riser.
It is pretty rough for sure. We saw that this deck is still super powerful and definitely one of the main contenders, as I said, for this weekend to maybe be our European Championship winner deck.
So you mean Mannadium, right?
I'm of course talking about Mannadium, obviously. But let's see what Dario can bring in here from his side deck. I'm seeing Eradicated Epidemic Virus, and honestly, this card is really going into all and everybody's side decks, right?
It's a virus, and it's spread out from the Labyrinth decks into all of the other decks.
Yeah, for real.
Everyone's thinking, why can't I do that as well?
Yeah,
that
you
looks
contribute
fun.
Gigantic, you contribute something else like Chaos Angel, this Pater here. It's like
I'm guessing the Vicious
really,
Astroud maybe is...
Oh, that is
it's probably the most convenient thing.
Oh yeah, it's pretty free, right? You can just summon it out for free. It doesn't really do anything on the field anymore, and therefore it's really cool. And besides that, nothing that I necessarily would see. Maybe a Scareclaw Twin Sword actually is kind of nice. I'm probably citing this in because it's a trap card, so you gotta start it in going first. And on the other hand, we saw, even just with Engine, the Kashtira deck is super strong into fields, but now he can even put more non-Engine in for this going second scenario. And I see Dark Hole, I see Droll and Lockbird, which is super powerful versus Mannadium. And then he's not even done Enemy Controller, Ghost Bell. There's so much. Triple Tactics Frost. Even lets him choose which one he wants. There's a lot to fear here for Dario.
It's interesting that sometimes when you have such a wealth of sideboard options, it can be tricky to figure out actually, because you can't put them all in, right? Because you can't be siding out too many Kashtira cards. I mean, you can try, but
I mean, he already plays Lava Golem in the main deck, which is also amazing versus the deck.
Which is also really one of the OG cards that we have, that Marek used, right? And it's really, really cool that this card has made a comeback.
Absolutely. And a pretty big revival, right?
Not used in the way Marek intended. To sit when you're there and deal 1,000 damage during each of your opponent's standby phases.
Thankfully.
And also, we haven't even mentioned it, but there's also the Dimension Shifter in the main deck. Some Kashtira players have decided to cut it from their main deck. Not Rico Eichelberger, though. He has put it into his main deck and may be able to draw it here in his opening hand. Let's see how it turns out. Game number 2 starting now.
Let's see if Dario is going to be intimidated by Rico's plays in game 1 or if he is acting fearless this time.
Ooh, Vanadium Fearless might be one of the cards he wants to use here for sure.
I'm wondering if Leo writes all of these down before,
Yes,
He
the
does.
matches.
I was there. I saw
What?
it.
It's on the
Okay,
cue cards.
Don't expose me like that.
Look at that. This time we start with the Peaceful Planet Calarium, and it's been met with the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, so he cannot add anything from his deck to his hand, but he already has the Vanadium Meek in his hand, and there's also the Visa Starfrost, so he's good to go here.
Yeah, this is really good to go, isn't it? The field spell here is just unbelievably powerful. I feel like it's the best. Maybe I'm pushing too far. Do you think it's the best of the cycle of
I am
field spells?
a Pearl stan.
You're a
This
Pearl Rhino,
is
okay.
absolutely the best one of the planet cards. And by the way, we are actually seeing in front of our table the other Eichelberger player in the tournament.
Also, I want to go with Rysov. Rysov is also so strong. So, for sure, Calarium has tough competition, I want to say.
I just love they all have the sort of the primary effect of searching a card from their archetype,
Yeah,
but then
for
the
sure.
secondary effect just lets you summon an extra monster on your own turn rather than pop a card maybe on your opponent's turn. And summoning an extra monster on your turn is in my opinion,
pretty
better.
good for sure.
Don't forget about the attack boost.
Don't forget the attack boost.
And I think the best one is actually from Pearl Rhino as well.
And look at that, there's Scareclaw Twinsaw. We
Yeah.
talked about it. He is adding it now to his hand, so he definitely sided it in. And the good thing now is there are 3 monsters in defense position on the field. Therefore, we can not only add the trap card here, but we can also draw an additional card through the effect of Scareclaw Rykard.
Oh, I love this extra engage.
Yeah, it is an engaged feeling. It is an absolutely engaging feeling that he's witnessing here. And there's so many monsters ready to be used for synchro summons. So which one is he going for first?
This is looking like a card that Basti is really hyped about ever since it came out.
I do believe that's a level 10 synchro, actually. Yeah. Oh, no! It is the Tri-Edge Master, which is a super new card. This has just been released a couple of days ago, basically. And this is from Battle of Legends Monstrous Revenge. And seriously, Leonard and I, while we were traveling to this event, talked about this card being pretty cool. And now we see it here in the match.
Yeah, this is basically like a Stardust Charge Warrior, but it has extra effects if you want. So, or I mean, if you can afford to summon it with 3 materials, then it has so many different effects, like popping a card on the opposing side of the field, or popping a card on the field.
Yeah,
Oh, that's very cool. If you
very
use
cool.
3. Is it possible to use 3 materials in this deck?
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay.
Because you can modify levels with Meek, so you can kind of arrange it yourself.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I was reading it and I was thinking it looks a lot like Stardust Charge Warrior.
yeah, but I mean, you have that extra bonus, right? Therefore, why wouldn't you take it? And we are again going for cross cheap, and we have the requirements again in our graveyard to special summon out the Vicious Astrolaut, and therefore we will be able to trigger the cross cheap again, bringing back another monster.
Cross Sheep is a very cool card.
Oh,
We saw
it
it
is.
in, well, for us it was yesterday, but for you guys watching at home, it will be throughout the weekend in some of the World Championship qualifier playoff matches.
True. So, Vanadium Meek is going to be brought back.
So we're on level 10, number 2.
Potentially,
Oh.
and triple tactic talents to draw. That is pretty crazy, because normally I would have thought, hey, we're comboing quite well, so why don't we just have a look at the opponent's hand and see what's going on there? But Dario just wants to draw 2 more cards there.
I'm definitely a look at my opponent's hand gamer rather than a draw 2 gamer. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
Almost all the time. Like, I barely ever, I mean, you have to see what really brings you ahead. I mean, if you are having already 2 level 10 synchros, I think getting information about what to negate and actually possibly taking a threat out of the opposing hand, it sounds like a really good deal to me.
yes, and there comes the normal summon of Riomhard. Riomhard will bring back the Meek, or rather the Meek will bring out its little brother.
Meek into Meek.
And we're checking the deck, and there's of course also the Vanadium reframing.
Yeah.
That's a counter trap this time even. So we have the already powerful Scareclaw Twinsaw, And then now on top of this, we also have the reframing.
Which is a really unique card because it is a Menardium archetype counter trap. However, you can only activate it if you have a Synchro monster. Not a Menardium Synchro monster, but just any Synchro monster.
It's very, very cool. And again, we are going for the Appaloosa, but this time it is being joined by quite a bit. Multiple powerful trap cards, and he's not even done with those two. I think he has Infinite Impermanence as well, and something else. 4 sets in total. How is that even the combo deck?
I think that maybe there is an Eradicator because we have this Astrolabe lying around there.
You might
Otherwise,
be right.
I would not necessarily agree with summoning Appaloosa again there, because if there is one deck you wouldn't want to have the Bow of the Goddess on the field,
It might be Kashtira.
then it might be Kashtira, yeah.
And I totally agree. That might also explain why he did not look into the opponent's hand, because he was like, I'm going to look into your hand through the Eradicator anyway, so why would I use Talons to look at your hand here?
So rate my Enfield now. Now what do we go with?
Oh,
Better.
I mean, I don't know exactly what are the set cards, but setting 4 seems pretty powerful.
So we saw 2 of them, right? We saw, and I definitely saw an Infinite Impermanence.
Yeah,
Fade
same.
Sound. So I think, though Infinite Impermanence is medium, it's not bad.
I think this is a 6.5 for me.
Wow, this has not changed much, to be honest.
Oh,
From a 6.
I
Or was
went
your
with
last-
lower.
Oh, your
I
last
was
one was not
way
a 6,
lower
okay.
because there has to be like there has to be a way up. If you start with a 6 with a rather bad end field that we saw in game 1 that was easily outed,
I see.
yeah, you have to be able to go up there.
So we are starting off with our copy of Race Off, adding ourselves the Kashtira Fenrir to our hands.
You're a harsh critic of Enfield.
I am.
Giving this a 6.
I am.
So what if your opponent has 3 evenly matched? What are you going to do then? You know, like.
Exactly. I mean, I think no, 3 evenly would be too much here. Yes.
Exactly. Didn't play around 3 evenly matched 4 out of 10.
Again, I'm curious. As in the first game, Rico, first of all, is going for the search of another Kashtira monster and then just revealing another Kashtira monster in his hand. This time he searched for Fenrir and then special summoned out the Unicorn. And therefore, Dario has additional information here.
And I think he just attacked here, and that makes perfect sense. Just getting rid of this Appaloosa immediately.
Players just sort of divvying up. How many life points do we take here? So the Appaloosa started at 24, and the field spell, the Pressured Planet, should be giving how much extra attack?
300.
300?
Oh wait, no, it's only 200. It's only 200.
Oh,
because
wow.
three of the monsters are wind monsters actually, and that was not enough, right? Because there also was the lowering of 100.
Dario just hard negated the Unicorn and destroyed it, and now Rico can just play.
Wow! There is one of the oldest and most original cards in the game, Dark Hole, being negated though by the reframing there.
Dark Hole's very cool. I quite like it as an inclusion over Raigeki, even though on the face of it, it just seems worse than Raigeki. You think, why would I want to destroy my own monsters? But it's a common strategy now against Kashtira to see if you can give them a monster, because that can be quite annoying and stop you special summoning them. So this is now the counter to things like Ibli or the evil hero something or other.
Celestial Angel.
Yeah.
I think which does not let you activate spell cards.
That's a good point. Okay.
Not really an answer
Doesn't
to
quite
that.
counter that. Maybe the branded...
Gimmick puppets.
yeah.
There
probably
is
Albion.
Kashtira Theosis now
Gimmick
being
puppet.
activated.
It is in the impermanence zone, the impermanence that is being set there. However, the Kashtira Fenrir is already negated.
Absolutely, yeah.
Playing with fire. It's normally good practice nowadays, isn't it? Just put your cards in a zone that's different to any that your opponent's got set spells and traps. You don't want to just accidentally be caught by an impermanence.
I mean, we have seen great players fall on stream because they activated cards in the impermanence zone.
Not only one, to be honest. That is a very common mistake. Somehow only happens in the feature matches.
I'm sure it happens not in the feature matches too. Although it's easier to see what's going on in the feature matches because I think most players don't play with like sort of very clearly defined columns like we have here on our lovely feature match setup.
There now is the infinite impermanence onto the effect of Rysard, meaning that it's not going to be going up to level 7. And there is the Scareclaw Kashtira now. Both players playing this card in their deck, and it was kind of a tell that Rico banished the Kashtira Birth, because normally you would rather go for something else, but here he went for a target that he could very well add back with the Theosis from the graveyard, which was now banished by Scarecrow Kashtira, and therefore he got a birth for free, which is super powerful.
And there's only Twin Saw on the field right now. Twin Saw doesn't really do anything. You have to tribute one Scarecrow monster to pop 2 cards, like an Icarus attack, and the other effect can only be used if you have a Link 3 or higher monster. And I can tell you, Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess, is no longer on the field anymore. It was erased quite easily, actually.
It's pretty crazy that Rico already played through double impermanence and the counter trap and the Baron negate, right? That is ridiculously good here from him.
Yeah, it just seemed like a breeze to him, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are summoning back the Kashtira Unicorn, also using the effect to grab us another spell card. Which one is it going to be? Or
the Unicorn was already negated this turn.
Yeah.
By
Oh yeah, you're right.
I was gonna say, is that not used?
So do we this time go for Big Eye maybe? That Baron is looking nice, and I think Rico agrees. He kind of is eyeballing that Baron de Fleur with a potential Big Eye. But he does decide for something else. He does instead go for the Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation.
This is a very cool card. I'm glad we're seeing some of it. I mean, I guess because it reminds us all of the original Dark Armed Dragon.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know? Never seen it before in my life.
Never heard of it. Light of Destruction, right?
So the cool thing about this Dark Arm, though, is that you can use the effect twice, which is also true for the original one, to be fair. But a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards nowadays have the restriction of only being usable once per turn. For example, the Big Eye would have only been able to take 1 monster, but the Dark Armed here was able to get rid of the Baron de Fleur and also the Twin Saw.
Fun fact: you can use Dark Armed as many times as you like. You
True.
can actually make it with. I mean, people very commonly make it with just 2 materials, but you can make it with more if you want to.
Absolutely.
We were both looking at the Big Eye. Rico was considering the Big Eye. I'm confused why you wouldn't just Big Eye and then take the Baron and then pop the set, and then the Baron is, instead of being in the graveyard, is on your side of the field, which seems a slightly better place for it to be.
And maybe in the standby phase you can just shuffle it back to the extra deck of Dario and then summon out a Unicorn again, so you have more interruptions, more or less. I mean, Unicorn is not the craziest of interruptions, but it kind of still is one.
Yeah, it can definitely be quite relevant, because Vanadium is a deck that can power through its extra deck quite quickly, so...
So we are using Fenrir onto the Visa Starfrost, but there's triple Tactic Talons, and again we are drawing 2 cards. Kashtira Birth once again activating, trying to get rid of a couple of cards here.
Actually, the impermanence on the Rise Heart was quite good.
Rise Heart is often quite a useful place to use the infinite impermanence. It just shuts down like 1 extra level 7 material, isn't it?
It just sits there being really sad now. But Kashtira Birth, not to be forgotten. A card that is actually easily forgotten, just like the Kashtira Preparations, which is not quite as common anymore, but they have, we like to call it a secret effect. However, actually it just says it on the card, it's not secret.
For some people it's still secret though.
It's secret, but yeah, I guess people call it the secret effect.
There is Calarium though. We found another one of our field spell cards. To be fair, Dario maybe one of the players in the tournament with the most field spell cards in his deck, because he's playing 5 of them in total. But there we go. Which one are we grabbing here?
I was confused why there was a cross sheet, but then I realized that this was Dario's graveyard.
Have you not seen the Kashtira decks playing cross sheep?
It's Vanadium actually, but yeah. Fair enough. We haven't normal summoned here on Dario's side, right? So Riemhard, actually quite the good summon here. I think he drew into double Calarium. Is that possible?
Oh, there is Riemhard, normal summoned, using its effect.
And it looks like Rico is out of interruptions, possibly, having used the Fenrir and the Birth this turn. So unless he's got something coming from his hand, it'll be Dario's turn to do whatever he feels like.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. So Dario just again quickly checking his graveyard, making sure what line to take, preparing the rest of his turn here. And do we now for the first time finally see Fearless? I think he grabbed the Fearless, right?
But that is a difficult spot because Peaceful Planet Calarium, I think, just adds 100 attack to Vanadium Riemhard and then you can't special Fearless anymore.
Ooh. That seems correct.
But he does. I think that's an Abscission in his hand, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like he's going to be able to use anything else this turn. It looked like a pass there.
Oh, no!
Rico's just drawn a card.
It just says 100 attack points for each tuner you control, and Vanadium Reamheart is not a tuner, so in fact you can special summon.
But it does very much look like he passed it over to Rico. Rico just brings out the Kashtira Unicorn, switches his other monsters into attack position, and is very much about to go into his battle phase.
Yeah, no need to risk a Nibiru here or something. We just attack Banish with Fenrir. 2,000, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So easy to put 8,000 damage on the table.
And this is the fist bump. Dario loses with his Vanadium strategy after starting twice, and Rico just showing why Kashtira is such a powerful engine going second.
Absolutely. Maybe one of the most powerful decks going second. A bunch of players actually nowadays even take the approach of making the blind second deck. I've seen that.
Yeah.
A strategy being very popular over the last couple of weeks, just saying, hey, yeah, you will always start. I will add some cards like Lightning Storm, Triple Tactics Thrust, and so on into my deck. I'm excited to see whether we will have some of those in our tournament this weekend as well.
Actually, we have seen at the German Nationals that some pretty strong players who have been in YCS Top Cards multiple times actually started to play Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries because they figured I can't take cards from your extra deck with Diabloses anymore, then I'm just going to take some with Cherries.
But it goes face up. It's just not the same.
Yeah, that's true. It's not the same feeling. Right?
Can't be banishing cards face up with Kashtira.
Boring.
You got to make up for it somehow, though. Yeah, you can't have it all. But definitely, now we had another power performance by the Kashtira deck. And we talked last round about how Rika is in the current total situation in the tournament. What does that just say about the Kashtira deck? Is it the deck that's going to win? I've heard the other commentary trio talk about their picks for the weekend. And I gotta say, for me personally, it has to be Kashtira. It is the most represented, but it's also the deck that I want to say will be winning. What do you guys think?
I want to say something else.
But?
But if I'm trying to be right, I'll say Kashtira as well.
You just took my answer away, but to be fair, German Nationals Finals, Tom Kleinegräber. YCS London Finals, Tom Kleinegräber. He lost both of them. He's in it to win it this time, and if we're looking at the past events, he was running Kashtira. I think he might run it again. We don't know.
Potentially.
But I think that the winner of this tournament is going to be him with Kashtira. So I think we're all Team Kashtira here.
That's a bold call. I mean, we only made like really, really bold assumptions there, or not really that bold assumptions by calling the deck that is already being the most represented in the tournament. But you called out one player.
Yeah.
I'm interested. You think he's made the finals and come second, come runner-up, and then you think he does. You think instead of coming runner-up again, you think he's going to win?
I think he's angry now. I think he's really tired of losing finals.
And to be fair, given all the events, like, which would you most like to come second in? It's definitely the European Championships because you get that world. I think if you ask players, like, you're probably quite happy losing in the final. I mean, you're not happy, but you'd still, you take it for sure.
I would be happy to qualify for the World Championships. But let's see what our winner has to say, and take it away.
Thank you very much, Leo. Yes, I am joined by Rico, who's just won that round 4 feature match. Rico, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
That's what we like to hear. So let's talk a little bit, firstly, about Kashtira. It's a deck that's seeing a lot of plays at the moment. So the question I sort of have for you, what is it that you feel separates your Kashtira deck from a lot of the other ones that people might see throughout this kind of tournament?
I don't think you can separate the Kashtira deck a lot by deck building. You just have to pilot it better than the others.
So it's all about being the better duelist.
Yeah, I won't say that I'm the better duelist, but I'm very much trying to be.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Humble, but still positive. So obviously that was quite an intense game against Vanadium. But you said you've played it against a couple of times, but you're not 100% on how the deck works.
Yeah, I know the effects and stuff, but I don't know where to interrupt. You see the Ash Blossom, I'm pretty sure there were better spots. When I dropped the Ash, I was like, yeah, I should Ash, try to start, because that's like the game plan I always used to do when I don't know the deck too well. I just try to start the engine, try to stop the engine. So if I'm lucky, they can play. But I got, I wouldn't say unlucky. I think it's still a 1-for-1 trade, almost.
I'd say so, because you basically stopped the Vanadium cards, but you could still do like the Scare Claw and the other Visa Starfrost cards. So you managed to stop something, but not everything. But that being said, basically, there are a lot of, you're against things like an Appaloosa and a barren field. How do you go about dealing with a big field of negates? Do you just try and attack into things?
Yeah, I think Unicorn is great doing that, because Apo is like a maximum of 24, and Unicorn is a big boy. That beats it.
That is a good way of putting it. So, yeah, a lot of Kashtira staples, the Arise, the Shangri-Era, and the Field Spell. That's always going to be a difficult one. So he just scooped because there's nothing you can really do. So going into Game 2, you started with the Ashe again, but it, still managed to play around a similar field, but he had the Vicious Astrolord, which is quite big because that you can't destroy it by battle, 3,000 attack and defense. So when that comes on the field, how do you go about dealing with that?
I don't think it will stay on the field except if he has like an Eradicator virus, and I was very much afraid of that because my hand was like 5 spells, and I was like praying inside of my head, he better not have an Eradicator virus.
Well, he set a huge back row, so did you think it was in there?
I 100% thought it was in there, yeah, but I was very lucky not to face it.
Well, you managed to play around all of those negates around that big field, and you played around that very threatening looking back row to take away the win. So are there any decks at this point that you're kind of nervous about going up against over the future Swiss matches?
Actually, Labyrinth. I hate that deck, and it's so scary to me. I don't like back row.
You're not the only person who said Labyrinth, so I think it might be quite a threatening sort of thing within the Euros this year. Definitely. Well, best of luck, and let's fingers crossed that you don't end up against some Labyrinth stuff, but congratulations. And guys, don't go anywhere, because not only do we have the round 5 feature match coming back up, we're actually going to return you guys to the round 2 of the WQP. Just so you guys know, in the future, because of the length of some of those VODs, because they were recorded for us yesterday, we might have to pause some of them at certain points so that we can bring you guys the live feature matches. But we will always make sure that we come back to it so you can see all the action. So here we go, back to round 2.